am extremely excited and slightly nervous at the same time because today is the really big day. Today is the big day that we set up our multi-item sorter. And it's not just any multi-item sorter, it is one of my own design. And while I want to be upfront about this video, this will not be the easiest to follow step-by-step format as to how to build this item sorter, although I do intend for you to know how to build it from today's episode. I have a actual tutorial on this that came out some months ago. I will link it in the description down below, as well as there should be a little pop-up in the top right-hand corner of the screen that will take you to that video as well. But to get things started, what is a multi-item sorter exactly? Before we talk about that, we should probably talk about what's not a multi-item sorter. We have our sorters over here at the farm system, right? And these things are sorting out individual items. We have, for example, over here, we have our crops being sorted. Carrots go into this section, potatoes into this section, etc. And these single item sorters will simply sort a single item per column. Each column sorts one item. It does that by reserving a slot in the hopper. We're not going to go over the whole thing. You can go back and watch my video on how to make one if that sounds like something to interest you, but that will sort one item at a time. Essentially, those are great for farms, and some people use them for their entire storage systems, although that is not how I like to do things. Then we have our storage building that we've been working out of the whole time here on the guide, which is a manually sorted system. We just have pretty well organized, like segments of different types of blocks and things that are holding all of our things. And for the most part, it works pretty good, right? Some of them I have sorted by different types of things, right? Like all of my polished andesite goes here, or iron and iron things go in here. The problem with this type of system is while it's somewhat well organized, every time I finish a project, I line the whole floor here with shulker boxes, and then it piles up to the point where I need to spend like an hour or so, like putting everything back in its spot. And let's face it, sometimes I'm a little bit lazy and things don't always go back in the proper spot. So while this serves us well in the early game, a manual storage system really just wastes a lot of time in the long run because you have to keep sorting things manually. So what does a multi-item sorter do? Well, I kind of lay out my chests in a way that a multi-item sorter works. Basically, it's a contraption that will take all of these different things. You'll assign a slot for them. Like, see, we've kind of assigned slots here already, just so if I have them in my inventory, I can just shift click it in here and send it right in. But it'll do it all automatically. I'll have one input where I can go and put shulker boxes or items, and then it'll automatically bring those items into the storage system. And it's going to do that in here. All of these little green sections that I have laid out is where all of my chests are going to go. And all the red is where all the redstone is going to go. And we're going to have a lot of different segments of chests to kind of categorize. Each section will be a category, and then to sort into individual chests all of our items. And this world that I'm in right here, this is the world that I did the tutorial in. This system is very nice. I'm not going to go through and explain it because you guys will see it as we build it, but basically everything goes into a category. This system is pretty quick to unload everything. It is completely silent. You don't hear ticks and clicks and all sorts of weird things, and it's very efficient, but it does use a decent amount of redstone. And I'm going to have to do this like segment by segment, building from the, I think from the bottom up. I'll have to check my tutorial back to see exactly how I did it. And I'm going to have to make some decisions along the way in terms of how I incorporate this in my world. So I guess you can consider today's guide episode more of a, how do I build that tutorial and make it fit my world? Because that's what we're going to focus on a lot here today. And we're going to start by doing this thing like segment by segment or section by section. So we'll pick a section to start with, and then we will copy that a whole bunch of times. And by the way, did you see all those observers? I don't have anywhere near enough materials for that. So there will be a corresponding stream if you want to go look for it here on the channel. It will have already happened by the time you've seen this video, where I have to go get a lot of quartz, a whole lot of cobblestone, and some other things to be able to craft all the things I'm going to need to do all of these chests. And hopefully some of you will have joined me. Okay, so now that we've taken a look there, I need to make a couple decisions. This is going to be the most important decision to start with whenever you're doing this build. I already decided in the last episode that this is where input is going to go. One of these, I guess, will go down to our eventual like bulk storage, and one will be for the system here. Now, I know based on my experience in doing these before and how I like to do things that first everything's going to go clockwise around the area here. So I think to make things easy, since this is going to go clockwise, we're going to make this one right here the one that feeds the system over here. Also, while I'm at this point, I want to note that I like to include shulker boxes as part of my system that I have loaded. So literally this first, I wanted to say quadrant, but there's more than four. What the 6, 9, ninedrant? What's the word for 9? I don't know, but this first section here is probably going to be all shulker boxes. That way, whenever things kind of come over here and start loading through, it will fill up my shulker boxes that I have for project boxes of different sorts and mixes and things. It'll fill those up first, and then everything will go to standard storage around the rest of the area here. So I'm going to designate this. I really wish I had a sign. I'm going to designate. That's my designation. Yes, that's it. But over here, rather, we need to figure out where our redstone is going to go, because the unloading system is going to go here. These things, they're going to run across this way, right? And then eventually that's going to be a lot of hoppers just to get over here. Oh my gosh, I just realized that. But I think that's what's going to look best. So I think that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I think we're going to stick with this. I could put it closer. That means I have to run less hoppers, but it won't look as cool. So we're going to keep that over here. Now, the first redstone clock thing, what we looked at underneath the multi-item sorter I showed you a moment ago, that needs to control this, and then it'll eventually control everything all the way around. I'm gonna have to figure out how exactly we do that. I think we can run it all off of one clock and keep repeating the signal down. And then we need to use this to like actually slow down the rate that the drops come through before they go up here. Now I know that we use a segment of this down below for like the redstone of this system. So I can't put it under here, but I know it does need to sit below everything. And in the tutorial that we did, it sits 3 blocks below the ground. So I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably bury it like right in here, maybe like an area like this. I'm going to get myself plenty of room to work. You know what? Change of plans. I have a much better idea. Let me fill in this hole. All right, better idea implemented. Instead of putting it down here, because I'm thinking, what if I need to get down there for some reason? I don't necessarily know why, but you never know when you may need to access your redstone. So instead, I'll put a little doorway right here. Maybe I'll even actually put a door on this, and we'll make it an official like employees only type area that you see in a lot of servers and stuff like that. Anyways, we need to get that little clock made. So I've kind of like laid out wool blocks here, and I like to use wool because like, let's say I need to like clear something out here. I can't hit this block and then accidentally break that one. So it just makes that whole process a lot easier and more safe. So let me see if I can recreate this clock here. We're going to put a piston right here, and then I'm going to put a target block right here. I use a target block because the redstone will actually redirect into it, and this piston's going to eventually push this out this way, right? And then coming out from this target block, we are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 with repeaters. And then the way that I have this thing set up to work is this guy right here sits at 2 ticks and everything else sits at a single tick. We're going to throw redstone dust right here, redstone dust right here. An observer is going to look that way to detect when this guy moves over there. And I think that's how the clock works. Let's see. Nope, it does not. Because we need redstone that comes across here too, like this. Now let's do it. Ah, okay, there we go. We have our clock. This is our timer. This is how everything is going to run. When I made this design, this exact timer right here was what made this thing run as fast as it could without actually breaking. This separates the items to go in at a certain time by locking and unlocking hoppers to where the system doesn't break. This is literally the brains of this whole operation. This is how it works. You have to have this thing exact. All right, let's turn this bad boy off. And as you can see, we are 1, 2, 3 blocks below ground because I think that's what we need when we get over here to this redstone. Now I need to run hoppers from over here past this system and then over to here. That's going to be the next thing we have to figure out, because that's for the input. And actually taking a look, the hoppers are going to go one lower than this line. So there's a couple things I know. I do not want the hoppers to touch any of these like blocks across here, like where that block is, because that'll lock the hopper. I want to lock the hopper a very specific way, and that specific way is going to be via a torch. So I'm going to put a torch right here, and I know that I want a hopper to cross this torch, probably coming this way, and then it's going to go down another level right here, and then generally like come into this area right here. This may not be exactly where it ends up when we start building this, but it'll get us in a general vicinity and we can kind of change things from there. It's not important for me to know exactly where it's going to end up yet. So we're going to hold down the crouch button here and place some hoppers into each other. And then I don't want this one to face straight down. I don't think that could cause problems sometimes. So I'm just going to place down something temporary right here, and then put that guy right there. So now we know our hopper line is going to come through this way, and we know we don't want it to run across the torch right here or these blocks right here. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to just dig myself in right here a few blocks and then poke up to see where I am. Now I know my hoppers need to keep going in this direction like this. There we go. That is facing the right way. Thanks to my little texture pack here, I can see that. And then we're basically just going to have to dig a little trench that works its way over here. Now, eventually we're going to work it over to there where our shulker unloader is going to be, but we're not going to do the shulker unloader in this episode. So it doesn't necessarily matter where I run it to. And perfect. That's our temporary input. So again, that's where we'll put all of our items in. They will travel across here. And actually, I noticed one problem. It's because this setup I'm doing here is slightly different than the setup I did in my little tutorial world. We actually need to have this hopper right here and then this one right here. We need the items to actually stop here and not flow over. Hoppers are kind of weird in the way that they work. We should see that, yes, they stop. They pile up right here. If I turn the clock on, it releases them slowly one at a time. This is the speed at which our system is going to be moving items. Perfect. That works absolutely perfectly. The clock, the brain of the system, is done. Now we actually have to do each slice of the pie here. And we're going to start that out by just getting the chests in place. Okay, so now it's time to get to building all of the redstone portion. And no, this is not the second time I'm doing all of this because my voice didn't record the first time. And also corrected a mistake that was possibly or possibly not made. You guys will never know because I dug this down one more. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks below where the chests are going to go. Now, first things first, we need to get our redstone signal down here because remember, we're using this clock to time everything, right? So I just dug down a little hole here, goes underneath the hoppers and everything. I don't have to worry about locking them by accident or anything like that. We're going to put a repeater right here so that way we get a full signal strength. And I have placed down some wool in the proper spot here. What we've done is from the underside of the chest, we have gone counting where the chest is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. And we have a 2 wide of wool here, which is just where we're going to place our first blocks. This is just a marker for me, a visual marker, and then 11 across because each of our sections that we're doing here is 11 blocks wide. So we're going to place our redstone across here. And oh, let me get all of my materials here, which by the way, this is everything we need to do in 11 block section. So let me grab this, and then just so you guys know what you need to get per column. Remember, we have 11 columns are going in here. So per column, you're going to need 12 droppers, 21 observers, 2 powered rails, 7 redstone torches, 20 hoppers, 21 solid blocks, 6 redstone dust, and 8 chests. That is again per vertical column. So we're going to have our observers look at this redstone. So as this redstone ticks, those observers see that and send out a signal. And they're going to send out a signal to these redstone torches here to flicker them on and off. A little bit more about why that works the way it works and why we're doing it here in a few moments. I'm going to turn this off for while we're building. I just wanted you guys to see that because it's easier to see it right now than it is later. Now, those redstone torches are going to be directly powering these blocks right here. And we're going to have 2 blocks going across like so. Now, I am doing this in a very specific order, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to place down some temporary blocks right here. And the reason why is because we need to place rails down. And what happens when you place rails down like this, because we need a rail there and there, and we need another here and here, you see the problem. that's not going to work for us. Not at all. So to get around this, we're going to place our 2 right here. We're actually going to place 1 on each end and another 2 right here. Then we break the ones on the end right here. You see they don't connect together at that point. And then we're going to, I guess what I would call stair step it down. So we're going to repeat this process over and over all the way down. That way, the redstone rails, the powered rails, don't get connected to each other in the wrong way. And we're doing it right now because right now is when everything's accessible. If you mess up the rails at some point later, you accidentally knock one out, for example, you're going to have to do all this over again. And it's going to be a lot harder to do whenever everything else is built. So once you get it all down, be extremely careful to not mess it all up. All right, once all that's down, go ahead and get rid of your temporary blocks. Okay, so when I turn this back on, you can see that those rails now flicker. This is what's going to control our items going up the item elevators, but we don't want them to flicker all of the time, because if they flicker all of the time, all of the droppers all of the time will always be going off. We'll be doing the droppers here in just a few moments, and we don't want that. It's going to create lag and it's going to create a lot of noise. We only want them to go off when there's an item that's in the dropper to go off for. So how do we achieve that? Okay, well, first of all, we need to set up our droppers. We're going to take a look at these rails with 2 observers. Yes, 2 observers are going to take a look at these rails. Keep this in mind. I don't want to have to explain it every time. Whenever the observer sees any kind of action, it sends a signal. Rail turns on and off, sends a signal. Redstone turns on and off, it sees the signal, and it just sends it out. So we're doing 2 because we want to send this signal back here, and we want to send it to a solid block. And I think what I'm going to do is anytime we have a solid block that's going to get directly powered, we are going to put white down. I guess I didn't do that right here for the rails, but that's okay. So we're going to put white wool right here again, just so we can't easily break it. And then that is now going to get power. We need the droppers. We're going to go up by 12. Okay, there we go. So now we have 12 droppers facing upwards. And anytime those droppers get a signal, the bottom ones, you hear them ticking. That's good. Kind of. We don't want them to tick. So to keep them from ticking, this is what we're going to do. We're going to place down comparators right here. That's going to tell us anytime an item is inside of the bottom dropper. This comparator is reading the bottom dropper. Anytime there's an item inside of it, it'll read that and it will light up. Now this comparator is going to be going into a solid block, and that solid block is going to have a torch in it. Like so. Now look what happens when I turn on the clock. You see it's ticking, but we don't hear ticking. That's because this torch is powering that rail. Now this rail does not turn off unless this is on and ticking and this has something in it. So watch this. If I put an item in here, see how it just goes away and it's silent. That's because when we put items in here, this turns on, that turns this torch off, and this is allowed to tick. And then those observers right there that we place down, they see that tick, they send power to this block, and that sends power to this, and it ticks the items up. So now we need to take that motion and we need to send it all the way up to the top. And how are we going to do that? Well, we need to see when this thing ticks. So we're going to place an observer right here. We're going to place a redstone torch on top of each one. And we need to see when this redstone torch goes off. So we're going to look at it. And then we need to look at this one. And then we need a solid block behind that. So now what will happen when this ticks, that'll do its thing to send everything from that up to this one. And then since this one has more redstone components to it, it takes a little bit longer for this signal to travel up and around. But what will happen is this will turn off and on. This will see that, it'll flicker that torch. This sees the torch flicker and it sends the signal down. It powers that block and it powers that dropper and then sends us up to the next layer. Now we need to get that up to the next layer here. So we're going to make an observer see this observer right here do its thing. And then an observer see this, do its thing, and then blocks the power. And now we're going to alternate this exact same motion over and over again. We put torches down, observers look at torches, observers send power to power droppers. Observers look down at torches, observers look at observers, observers power blocks, which power droppers. I think you get the pattern. Just alternate that back and forth all the way to the top. And then we hit our top layer. So if you've done it the way I've done it, you'll end with torches at the top where the droppers are. Okay, now to show you the whole system work, we've gone over it all. So now what'll happen, I'm just gonna throw a stack of, I'll put this smooth stone in here. Let me get some scaffolding down so we could easily make it up. So whatever blocks go in here, say these 54 smooth stone, they're gonna be in that system there. And you see they're gonna slowly tick down, and you see everything pulses its way up. The only tick we hear is at the top because there's not a hopper up here to catch the items. Whenever there's a hopper up here to catch the items, it won't make a ticking sound. The system is 100% silent. And if you're wondering if this is as fast as the item flow can go, yeah, I can't get it to go any faster. This is the fastest clock that I could make that still works. If you go any faster than this at all, the system is not going to work. You're going to have items skip the hoppers whenever they start going into the chest. And of course, we do not want that. So now with all of that connected together, we could do one of two things. We could either do the connection of hoppers down there, or we could do the chest. And I think we want to do the chest first, because I guess we kind of have to have that part done first anyways. And actually here in the system that I'm doing, we're going to be starting with shulker boxes here first, because there may be times where I want to make like certain mixtures of blocks for a project box of sorts. So if we put shulkers here, it'll automatically load those shulkers for us first, which would be great. So we're going to rip all of this out right here. Let me grab my shulkers and get them all ready to set into place. All right, and now we're ready to put our shulker boxes in. I got some little temporary blocks back here just so I can place them. We'll rip those out after, and hoppers will actually end up going there. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get all of our shulker boxes down here. The only difference between your shulker boxes and your chests is the fact that the shulker boxes are not going to stick out as far. You see your chests kind of like they'll come that far out because they're facing sideways. The shulker boxes aren't. They're just a single block wide, so they're going to go in right here. Also, I want them all facing outwards like this because that way they can open. If they face any other direction for us, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to open. And eventually, we may have these shulker boxes color coded for specific things. We may go over that when we do our Ender Chest episode, but for now, these will do. And bam, there we go. Okay, now all of those temporary blocks back there can come out. Be super careful to not knock out your shulker boxes. Okay, now we're gonna have to face hoppers forward into these chests from the other side. So to be able, or the shulker boxes, and the hoppers are also going to be facing into gaps. So we're going to want to go ahead and just temporarily place down some blocks in between. These don't need to be your decorative blocks for now. I'll show you how to put those in later if you want to. But for now, these guys will do. We're going to go over to the back side here, and we're going to pillar up, and we're going to hold down our crouch button. And we're going to face hoppers into the back of all of these shulker boxes and facing forwards into the blocks right there. You have to make sure they're all facing the right way. If you face one the wrong way, it will most likely break at least that one section of your storage system. So just make sure they face the right way. Look for the little, like the little end of the hopper to be facing into the block, or if you have a texture pack like I do, of course, you can just use that to kind of help you determine which way it is facing. Now we need to see where the input line is going to go, just to make sure we do this in a way that like doesn't get in the way of anything. And I think we should be fine. Oh yeah, this is going to be pretty easy because it's already right here. So we could just take up these hoppers and then just run it right here. Bam, input line is all good. Now we need to do this part back here. We're gonna need some torches and some redstone dust and a few observers. Okay, now this part is extremely important because this is what controls everything up here. And this is going to be our little system that is going to lock all of the hoppers. And actually, this just made me think I need a row of temporary solid blocks right here, because we need some hoppers facing this way. Keep them facing forward like we've done before. And those blocks are temporary. You can get rid of those. And then behind these hoppers, we're going to put a row of blocks that's going to stay, because we're going to have redstone sitting on this. So again, I'm going to use a color here that just kind of helps signify that there's redstone there and I don't accidentally somehow break it. And we need this clock to also get up here. Or technically it needs to be right there. We need this redstone dust to be right there and to not lock this. I have a plan. Take this here. We put this here. And we put this right here. So now we're just locking that hopper instead of this one, which is fine. It doesn't really matter which one we lock. And then we come over top of this. Over top of this because we don't want to lock any hoppers. Okay. That's good. Oh, you know what we could do? I have a better idea. We could use stained glass there instead because stained glass doesn't get powered. Perfect. Next is we need to run redstone across here. And we need this to be a redstone torch. The reason why we're using torches where we are, like here and here, is because we want everything to be locked for as long as possible and then just have a little flicker to unlock. So you see it's locked most of the time, and then for a split second, it's unlocked. So let's go up, and we're going to repeat what we did right there. And we're going to do it above that layer right here. And now we're at the top layer. Right at that's even with the top chests, or in this case the shulker boxes, and we actually need to go up one more solid block right here, and then there's going to end up being hoppers along here, which means I need another set of temporary blocks to go through here. We need forward facing hoppers that just go simply like this. And then finally, redstone dust is going to come across here because we do also need to time these top hoppers as well. We need to just make sure that everything goes through at that same sequence of time to not break the build or have anything like slip through or double place in the chest and that sort of thing. So this right here is just another piece. It's just going to help with the timing to make sure we don't skip any blocks. As far as the top goes, the redstone, all of that stuff is 100% done. Now we need one final piece. We actually have everything we need that will take things through our top layer. We should probably actually test this right now, in fact. So like what should happen is if I open up this shulker box right here and I place smooth stone here, I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to place purple wool here and scaffolding here. And then this one I'm just going to leave blank. We're going to see if the extra stuff makes it. No, let's test it and make sure it makes it all the way to the bottom, I think. Here, let's do white wool. Here, let's do redstone. And let's throw in white wool, redstone, purple wool, scaffolding, smooth stone. And let's throw in something that's not in the system, purple stained glass. Okay, so those things should be making their way up. Ooh, you can see that they are. Okay. And if we look in here, no. Ah, look, there's white wool. We're going to let this run for a little bit. And then what should happen is the purple stained glass should be left in this hopper here. And everything else should sort itself into these chests, which will just be showing me that the system works. All of our timings are good. And we can move on to the last bit, which is what I needed to show you next anyways, which is what happens when something doesn't find a slot. It makes it all the way to down here. Well, we have to take that item and we need to get it into the next line. And that's a spaghetti mess of hoppers, and it's not fun to do. It's probably the most confusing part of all this, but we're going to do it after I make sure that all of this goes through. Okay, this part all finished. Everything made it in as it was supposed to. You can see all of our chests here, and then there sits our purple stained glass. So everything is ready to go in regards to the system and making sure that it works properly. And I do recommend, if you build this, I do recommend that you test it like this, just to make sure in phases, so you know what's working, what's not. If you mess something up, you miss redstone somewhere, it just makes the problem a lot easier to chase down, I guess. Now here comes the fun part. If that's what you would like to call it, I'm going to call it the fun part. Is we now need to take all of these hoppers and we need to run them to the next section over. So this hopper does not connect here because that's our input. The items went in here, up here. Now they're back down here. So we need to get this over there. To do that, here's what we do. We're going to start from here. We're going to come there, 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 here, 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 here. Boom. So that line now comes down and connects into there. Now we need to get this one into this one. We're going to just kind of work the opposite of that. Now we're going to build up over here. We can't go too high because we don't want to go underneath like any other like hoppers. We also don't want to touch this line. If we touch that line, we lock these hoppers. So we're going to go up 2 over 1 like this. Bam, like that. Oh, I think this is going to work perfect. Okay, I'm kind of like making this up on the fly. I'm pretty sure this is how I did it before. So listen, we go here, 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 and then straight up like that. And then we go here, up 2, over 1, over 2, up 1. Oh yes, this is perfect. Okay, I was a little worried about this. It looks confusing, but if you just kind of follow my logic of how I do it, it's not that bad. So that one went up. So this one's going to go, I'm repeating this on camera for you guys intentionally multiple times because I want to try to make it easy for anybody that's following along. So we go down, up like this. That's connected. Now this one, we go 2 over 1, 2, up 1. This guy, again, we just come over, go over here, and go up. This guy here, over, up. That's our last one connected. And then this guy right here, he will come out and make his way out that way. We know it's going to come over this way, but we'll just pull that out of there for now, and it'll end up right here. Anything that doesn't make its way in, and then that'll lead us over to the next section. So before I give you guys a proper demonstration of how all of this works and what the functionality of it is and why it's so amazing, I need to build the rest of it. And I think I'm going to do that in live stream form, because what better to do than mess up Redstone with a whole bunch of people watching? So make sure that you're popping on the live stream, saying hello, hanging out for a while, having a good time with me, probably not distracting me because my streams never do that. And when we come back from this clip, unless I have something interesting to show you from the stream itself, you'll come back to all of this being done. It has been 4 incredibly long streams to get to this point. I think it's been 4. It's probably been somewhere around like 20 hours or 25 hours of in-game time, but we've finally gotten there. All that work I showed you guys in the first section we did, it has now all been repeated 8 more times. There's been a lot of material gathering that had to happen to get to this point. Some more digging, of course, that had to happen to get to this point in those other areas. I needed a lot of things, okay? A lot of things. This area is so big, like it doesn't even render all the chests in, which is kind of crazy. This place is so cool. And then on top of that, I've gone through and I have put placeholder items, reserved items in every single slot of every single chest. And I want to talk a little bit about why I do that. You don't necessarily have to do that, but when your system is this big, you probably need to. And I know I talked a little bit about this before, but just to elaborate, as you guys noted, the items come up, they go down, they filter back over, they go up, they come down, and they kind of do that like up and down motion, right? They go up in the back, they come down in the front. And then if a slot is open, it goes in the slot. If a slot's not open, it doesn't go in the slot. So when you have a system like this, you need to, and it's going to take a decent amount of time to go through and get all of the things in all of the slots that you want to. It's a big task, especially if you're kind of later in your world and you have a lot of stuff. If you don't put slot reservation items in, what you're gonna have is you're gonna run things into the system and then they're just gonna filter into the first empty chest they come across. And that means you're gonna have to fill every slot of every chest in your system. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with items just overflowing into those empty slots. So for me, what I like to do is I like to take an item that's kind of easy to spot. I feel like a red glass pane screams, don't put something here. And then I renamed it to reserved on a anvil. This was quite a lot of red pane glasses that I had to do, a whole lot. But I want to rename them all. That way, if we put any red glass panes in the system, they won't just filter into these slots either. And now, whenever I want to go in and I want to fill a chest with something, say it's this one, and I want to put rockets in it, right? I could take the panes out. I could put the rockets in. And if I still want to leave some slots unreserved or unused for something, then I'll just put the glass panes back in to reserve those slots for future use. For me, this is a good best practice on how to do it. Now, what we're going to do now is we actually need to test and make sure that this thing is actually working properly. With every single spot and every single chest filled, this should be easy. I say should be because we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to take a special item here. I say a special item. We're going to use purple wool and we're going to put it into the system. We're going to drop it in up here. And then if the system has been made completely correct, then it should make it all the way around and make it into the end there. And actually, I should probably show this. I don't think I showed this on camera because we're at this point, but I basically, to keep things simple, I chained everything together. So you'll see where we had that hopper output here. We just ran that into the side of the next system. And we did that in every single spot all the way down. Not only that, we put repeaters in to just continue this clock and use it the same clock for everything all the way down. And one important thing that I had to make sure that I did was I had the repeaters. You see them there, all lined up in the same spot. So we have the same number of repeaters on the same pulse, just a simple, like regular default 1 tick delay on every section. That means that every single section runs on the exact same timing as each other, because it would mess things up if I had, say, 2 repeaters here, but just 1 there. Because then everything gets out of sync and it's not going to work properly. You're going to have items skip or whatever, and we don't want that. And it works the same all the way down. I simply ran the hoppers through and into the next sections over here. So you can see those hoppers lead in, the redstone comes around, and everything works the exact same way for every single section that we've done. It just all daisy chains or connects into each other. Now, finally, we come to the very end right here. And once we get to the very end, we just abruptly stop right there. That's where it stops. That's the last hopper. So that means if we run one of those purple wool through the front of the system, probably have to wait a couple minutes just because it's a long ways to travel. We should see that item eventually get through it. Actually, know what I may do? This may be even smarter of me to do. We should get behind the system here and then watch the item elevators, because we should be able to tell whenever the item elevator goes off, because it won't go off if there's nothing in the system. And then we could follow it. And if it does get stuck somewhere, we'll know where it gets stuck. So let's take a single wool. Let's turn to system 1 here. And as you can see, none of this stuff blinks. So if we come back here, we can see if it gets stuck and we stop seeing the blinking happen. So let's throw it in and let's run over. Let's look for that initial blinking. I'm going to follow until I can't follow anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I may have just lost it right here. Okay, let's check the simplest thing first, which is I forgot to completely fill one of the chests up and it just ended up in one of the chests. Actually, I think it is the second to last row because I didn't see the last row blink. Okay, is it in a dropper? Let's go up. Is it trapped in a hopper down here somewhere that's maybe facing incorrectly? Oh, what's this? Aha! I forgot a hopper. Easy fix. Oh, look, you can even see it right there. All right. That's why I wanted to bring you guys along for this little ride that we're going on here, because it's very easy to make one small little mistake, and that one small little mistake, if you don't track it down properly, can be quite the huge headache. Okay, so I think we're going up to that next section. So I'm just going to go over here and let's see if we get a blink here. Ah, there we go. We're back on track. Whoa, well, we're getting multiple blinks. There must have been something stuck in the system. That's fine. We'll just follow it down and we'll see what it was. All right, we're about to make it to the last section. I am extremely excited because with how much that I built and doing it all on stream, I expected many more mistakes than this. But outside of that one hopper, so far, we are good. All right, we're waiting for the last one. Come on. Yes. Oh, so Smoothstone was in the system ahead of the purple wool, and then there's the purple wool. Absolutely perfect. Can I get like a round of applause down in the comment section below? Because honestly, that even impressed me. I don't usually put things together that well the first time, especially something this big. That's insane. Okay, Well, now that that part's done and we know the system works, we need to talk about some final bits that go along with this that are important for you to know. And some of this may be some of the most critical and important things for you. So thing number one that I want to talk about is the input. We're not fully setting that up here yet. That may be the next episode. If you want though, you could put in some chests like, oh, why is it? I don't want thunderstorms. So anyways, we could put like a double chest here, then a hopper down, and maybe even some like hoppers running in this way and put some shulker boxes on it. Like we could keep it super simple and that would be fine. It doesn't make it any faster necessarily to do it another way, but we're going to be doing a system over here I mentioned before of a shulker unloader. So that's going to be what we do for unloading, but you can do it the other way if you want to. The next thing is we will need to, at that point, run our on off switch somewhere. With this system, you do not, I'm going to repeat this, you do not want to leave this system while it's got items flowing through it. If you do, those items are potentially going to get stuck, because if you unload some chunks and not other chunks, then the items could get stuck somewhere in the system, and then that update order may not save and continue to send the items through when you come back. So one of the ways that we are going to handle that here is I'm probably going to end up making this into a little AFK room. And for me to turn the system on, I'll have to come in here and like stand on a little pressure plate. So if I'm on the pressure plate, the system is on. And then if I get off the pressure plate, the system turns off. Now I will probably also include some type of override switch. I'll throw in like a lever or something. So that way, if I want to just like turn it on, because I'm going to be going around doing stuff here in this area, it can still run. But a pressure plate is a great way for you to do this. I do recommend it. Now, a lot of you may ask, because this came up a lot during those live streams, which I hope you start joining me for soon, is the system has, at least mine, has quite a lot of hoppers. So you may ask, Prowl, is this going to make a lot of lag in my world? Well, that kind of depends a little bit. Is your system this big and this expansive? And then what type of device do you play on? If you make one that is this large, you play on a higher simulation distance like I am here, so it's all staying loaded, and you're on a like an older mobile phone, or maybe like a last gen Xbox or something like that, then maybe, yeah, you might have a little bit of lag. It's a lot of hoppers and a lot of chests. It'll probably be more visual lag though than it will be lag from the system itself. Hoppers, they are known to cause lag, but this is another reason I designed this system this way, is hoppers don't cause lag if they're locked. So since this hopper is locked, it's not trying to send items forward. It's not trying to suck items out of it. This hopper can see that this hopper's locked. It's not trying to pull items down, and it knows that it's empty, so it's not trying to send items in. So these hoppers, for the most part, aren't really creating much lag. There's no redstone running whenever we have the system turned off. And even when it's turned on, only the parts that need to run actually run, and the hoppers only unlock as long as they need to. So as far as like big storage system go, this is about as low lag as you can get. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know can cause lag, I don't have a way to ameliorate this right now, but one way that systems like this can cause lag is redstone lighting updates. As these torches flicker on and off, you may have times where the light gets updated in a dark area because the light level's kind of low. My suggestion, just add in a decent amount of torches around to light the area up pretty good. I'm actually not too bad right here. Same thing for redstone dust. Just make sure you have a decent light level everywhere in your system, and then you won't get any lighting update lag. So I would definitely recommend that you do that too, especially if lag is a concern of yours. I thought about this after I finished recording, and I thought giving you guys a specific example of how to set up a chest would probably be helpful. So let's do it. Okay, so to get a chest set up for you guys, I'm going to take an example of like one of my chests here. I think this is a perfect one. We're going to take our spruce chest here, and I'm going to use this to show you how you would set up a chest for multi-item sorting. So what I'm not going to do here today is I'm not going to show you like how I'm going to go through and sort every single little thing and decide what goes where. We're just going to pick a random spot. Let's say it's right here, and I'll probably put an item frame on the front and put like a spruce plank on it just to kind of tell me, hey, this is my spruce plank section. And I'm going to put in here the things that I make out of planks and then the planks themselves. So I'm going to take all of those reserve slots out, and I'm going to stretch all of this across here, and it looks like I have a blank spot left over. So I'm just going to throw in anywhere I have a blank spot. I'm going to throw in a little reserved thing, so that way that spot is blocked. All right, let's say I want a row of slabs, a row of stairs. Let's say I want a few slots for fence posts, a few slots for these guys. These are fence gates. I probably only need one slot for this. Maybe I'll pull one away from the fences and put it there. Probably only need one slot for a door in case I have any extra doors. And stripped logs. This would be a good place for stripped logs to go to. And that leaves me with some extra space here that I'm unsure about. I don't have the four-sided logs in here, or the four-sided stripped logs here. Or maybe I end up, for some reason, crafting a whole lot of spruce fence gates backs in it, and I need an extra slot. We have slots reserved for extra use later on, but we also have slots reserved in the system. So now, I probably should have done this here. We could do this real quick. All right, let's say I have some spruce logs here. We're going to take this. We're going to make some stairs. We're going to make a door. We're going to make some trap doors. We're going to make a couple more slabs. So we're going to take all of these, and let's say we're inputting this into our system. I'm just going to yeet it all in here since this is my input for now. And then I do have it turned off, so I'm going to turn it on. Those items are going to start making their way through the system. They have to kind of go through all of this first. They have to make their way over here. And then when they get into here, they will start to flow in. This is where video editing magic comes through. And I'm just going to fast forward this and you guys will see it fill up the chest. And there you have it. You saw all the items fill in. That's how it works, guys. You throw the items in, it finds the reserved slot because this is the only chest that has room for those items. And it just keeps on going if it's not one of these until it finds its slot. And then if there is no room anywhere in the system, you're probably going to want to have some type of an overflow. Really, the best thing to do for this would probably be, I can't believe I didn't cover this earlier. You can either set up like a row of chests down here at the end, or you can continue on and have a section that doesn't have the this particular redstone right here. You still probably need the item elevators because when the items come down, they need to go in and go back up. But you can get rid of this bit of redstone that locks the hoppers, and then those items will just kind of flow through the system until they hit a stopping point. My probably best recommendation would be, that's okay. You'll end up with items stuck in the hoppers though if you do it that way. I would probably have like a little like junk area down here. Non-stackable items do not sort into this thing yet. I may do an alteration of this where we have like a row or a couple rows for non-stackable items, which would probably be pretty nice. Things like swords and things like that. Or you can even have a row or an area of chests that just don't sort and don't have the elevator or anything that you just manually place things into. The reason why I didn't include those things in my system here is because this will eventually go down and into a bulk item storage area where we have storage silos for big quantity stuff like glass, sand, dirt, stone, cobblestone, stuff like that. It's going to kind of go down in these areas below. So my item flow is going to be that those items are going to go down and then they're going to flow across more typical item sorters like we've used in some of our farms. And then at the end of that, there will be probably over there or over here somewhere that like leftover didn't have a spot stuff. So it didn't really fit into my system that way, but that's how you would fit it into your system. So as far as the system itself is concerned, I think that's about all that I have to say about it. These next few episodes are going to be like really incredible. Oh, did I mention we built a slime farm down here? We built a temporary slime farm down here. I just threw a golem in and have a little minecart collection system down here with some magma blocks, and it's been creating a little bit of slime for us. We might, like I said, make an actual full slime farm here sometime in the near future. But I figured we're going to be here working for the next few episodes without touching this. So I might as well get some slime out of it while I'm at it, right? But these next few episodes are going to be big. We're going to do the shulker unloader. We're going to do an episode on actually sorting all of our items into the chest. We're going to do an episode on how to set up a proper ender chest because we don't have that. That episode will include color coordinating your shulker boxes and what's a good idea to carry, what's not a good idea to carry, and then how we set up this little system right here to actually keep ourselves with fully loaded shulker boxes at all times. And then after we do that, we will then start moving down to bulk item storage and maybe a slime farm and the super smelter. And then all along the way, I'm going to be doing some building in here to start to make this place start to come together. And then maybe at the end, we'll do some type of big recap video, or maybe we'll even have a decorating video or something like that mixed in here too. I don't quite know 100% for sure yet which way I want to go, because I like doing a lot of my building on stream, because then I get to talk about what we're building. I get to discuss that with the community, and I can have everybody kind of help me out a little bit in making decisions. I like the help. But as far as this episode is concerned, that is it. If you're still here, I want to thank you a whole lot so much for watching this whole episode. If you enjoyed it, click the like button. If you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing. And if you haven't picked up a Proud membership yet, you probably should consider it, because Proud membership gets you this episode one day early, all videos one day early. And whenever I do a tutorial, I am now doing a full explainer video of all the mechanics behind that tutorial. That way you guys can see exactly how it all works. Those are just some of the member perks. We have servers, special Discord roles, and more. So consider clicking that join button down below and picking up a membership for yourself. I thank you so much for watching today. It has been super fun, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.